Okay, first presentation of week 3, and we're talking about managing the team, people, and communications. We're going to go into some leadership aspects. Obviously, there are entire courses on leadership. There's entire mentoring programs, and some people have just great experiences that make them good leaders. But I'm going to talk about some key things just to keep in mind as we move this team forward. Some of these are a little bit unique because when you're dealing with a technology project, you're going to encounter some different kinds of people and some different challenges than you do on a lot of other types of projects. And so it pushes leaders a little bit differently to be able to continue to motivate and challenge team. We'll talk a little about motivation. We're going to talk about leadership styles. We're going to talk about leading in a global environment, so some multicultural stuff, and communications in general. As you can see, both the topics, people management and communication management, are two of the key knowledge areas that we need to be focused on and integrating as we move forward. So as we're doing change management, as we're doing scope and looking at cost and all this kind of stuff, keeping in mind what the team's reaction is, how that integrates with the team, how we need to communicate that is very relevant. First thing I want to start off with, there are some people that think that HR does HR stuff and then the manager just does the technical management job. This is not true at all. HR departments provide guidance to the company and resources to manager in terms of policies. They don't manage the team, and they don't lead anybody. So you are responsible for the individual employees that are part of your team, and you have to set the processes and policies set by HR. You need to follow those processes and policies and such in the course of managing your employees. But really, this is all up to you. You as the manager are the leader of this group of folks, and they're going to look to you to see where we should be going and get excited about what they're doing and have that motivation. Manager is a communicator, negotiator, cheerleader, counselor, all those things when it comes to keeping the people motivated. Remember that the number one asset you have as a project manager is your team. That'll be an important question to know. Your number one asset that you have is your team. It is the thing that will make or break the project. If you have a good team, they'll probably execute well. If you have a good team that communicates well and with a good leader, they will execute excellently. If you are not very good at leadership, then people find ways to not complete stuff and not get stuff done, and they just lose motivation. So your leadership style is important, and your team is the most important thing you got. Your job is to support them because they're the ones that are executing the actual work that's going to generate deliverables. So share information. Make sure people are part of the team. Make sure they know what they need to know. Find ways to motivate. Key job is remove obstacles. When someone's hired to do something, their goal is to do that thing. And most people show up each day and they want to do as well as they can. So your job as a manager is not to add problems to them. It's to remove obstacles. Let them do the thing that they were hired to do. Never take anything personally. It's about the project, not about personal behavior, and encourage team behavior. Never pit people against each other. Cooperation, collaboration is key. Encourage situations where they can build sort of those bonds and friendships and such that allow those gaps that inevitably come up within project workload to kind of be filled by people who are reaching across and helping each other out. Fostering team performance is key. You have to have clear vision, a plan, objectives. All of those things have to be laid out so that everyone can get on board, see where we're going. You provide the time, skills, resources to do the job. You make sure you set expectations that are high enough that they challenge people and people feel like they're doing a good job when they meet those expectations or exceed those expectations. And then give them good feedback, clear feedback on the performance. So they know when they're doing well, when they're not doing well, what they can do better to proceed. Then once they know that, empower them. Give them the ability to actually execute on what you've suggested, and let them take ownership of what they do. Remember, most people are creative at heart. They're going to take whatever their job duty is, whatever their role is, and they're going to make it their own. And if you empower them, then you're basically giving them more creativity, more leadership, more ability to do better with what they have, and to own really what they're doing. Leadership is different from management. And that's what we're talking about here. We go through that Microsoft project. Anyone can go through that Microsoft project schedule and schedule it. A mediocre leader can be a good manager, but can never be a great manager. A good leader will inspire the team to succeed beyond what it expects that it can. That's the difference. So when you're going into this thing, just like we're talking about risks in a project, we don't know what they are, but they're going to be popping up. We need to burn down risks as much as we can. Leadership is another one of those things you don't really know exactly how it impacts each people. But if you're inspiring the team to succeed beyond what it expects of itself, then you'll fill in the gaps. People will step in where they're needed. Things will just magically happen when good people are working on a good team. Service to the team is, like I said, vision, guidance, supervision, help in those tough spots, create a good environment. Skills to do that are communication, listening, organizing, and being good at relationships. This is a chart just has kind of a list of some of these skills that are important. I'm not going to go over all of them. But the attributes, especially on a technology project, that are most important: be comfortable with change, understand the organization that they work with and in, and be able to lead teams to accomplish those project goals. Those are the attributes that are necessary for anyone to really manage a good technology project well. Skills on the right are all those things that we've been talking about: conflict resolution, soft skills, human relation skills, project knowledge environment, being able to do critical thinking, really work through issues with the team. Those are things that make for good project managers. You need to have interpersonal skills. You need to focus on communication, and that's not just something that comes natural. That's something that you really kind of line out exactly how am I going to communicate to which person, to all these different people, at what level, to make sure that everyone is staying on track with where things are, where the problems are, where they can help, and what the overall vision is. Work through conflict management, and we'll talk a little bit about conflict management more, but you cannot be a conflict avoiding person and be a good manager. And then, a key skill is writing in English, because basically writing is just inevitably going to be a big part of what we do. We've already gone through some of the documents that we have to have. That's going to be a key element going forward. So let's talk about motivation. What makes your team work hard and own the results? A lot of different theories here. Basically, there's two kinds of people that are motivated. There's intrinsic motivation and there's extrinsic. Intrinsic means people are motivated by the work, the challenge, the interest, the camaraderie. Extrinsic motivation means people are motivated by something else that's a product of the work, like the salary, the status of having a job title, that kind of thing. You want intrinsically motivated people, because intrinsically motivated people will just get the job done. Extrinsically motivated people are typically looking to the next thing, right? They're not so concerned about, they'll do the task in front of them, but that's primarily what they're looking for. So find people that are excited about what they do, excited about the vision. Try to get those people on your team, or at least put into their hands the bulk of the power they need to get done. Influence and power. Do people have the means to influence their activity? Remember, again, this is a creative process for most people. They want to have the ability to create here, and that means they have to have some influence over their own activity. And do they feel like they're able to accomplish the goal? Are they being effective? Maslow describes the hierarchy of needs, which I'm sure you've seen before, but basically what it says, after the physiological stuff, after they feel like they're safe from their environment and they have food and they're safe and then they start working in some other, we start thinking about other needs: social, esteem, and self-actualization. Social means creating a good team environment. Esteem means there's respect, prestige. Self-actualization means, are they creative? Are they getting what they want to, and being innovative and being able to do the things that they want to be able to do? That's self-actualization. That is what we want to be able to shoot people for and get people up to that layer. Once you're at one of those lower levels, that stuff below you doesn't motivate you anymore. So giving someone more money sometimes isn't necessarily the thing that's going to motivate them. What you want to do is give them the ability to shape their environment and be creative. Hertzberg also talks about motivation factors being those kinds of things we just talked about: achievement, recognition, the work, responsibility, advancement, growth, those kinds of things. Hygiene factors are like things that they just need to have. If you don't have them, then you might have a problem. They'll go find someplace else to work, but you don't need to. Don't need them in surplus, right? Salaries, good supervision, the work environment, better equipment, health benefit, all those things have to be there, right, to keep the people motivated. But what's really going to motivate them to do phenomenal is that stuff on the left. So the stuff on the left produces job satisfaction. Stuff on the right can cause job dissatisfaction, but increases beyond just having them there isn't going to be huge. So keep in mind where you're applying your resource for motivation. Hire those with intrinsic motivation. Cultivate them. Build teams so that employees will model that behavior. They'll get excited by other people getting excited. And when you lead, make sure you know that you're caring about your employees. You understand who they are. You want them to be successful. You're worrying about their career. All those kinds of things that make them feel like they're a part of a team. That make them feel like they want this to be successful because it's a part of who they are as well. And you, as their leader, care about where they're going. You support them. Always remember that. Not the other way around. They're not there for you. You support them so that they can execute what needs to get done for the project. 4 main work styles in what we call the DISC assessment. There's dominant, influence, conscientious, and steady. And the descriptions are right there. But it's important to know in each of your teams, kind of where does each person fall? You can do DISC assessments, that'll help you. But once you do that, it helps you understand kind of how you should organize the team, how you should staff, and how you motivate each one. Because they're all a little bit different. Dominance wants to get things done. Influencing people like that interaction with others. Conscientious people are really focused on accuracy. And then steadiness just likes to cooperate and get things done as a team. So if you know how to mix your team up, mixing those folks, then you've got a good approach. Like I describe here, make sure their dominant people are in on the plan, and they make sure they understand that planning itself is an action. So not just diving off into work before they actually get something laid out. Interactives give them opportunities to work with others. Customer outcome-focused roles will help them not get distracted. Steady people, don't burn them out because they're going to keep working for you. So encourage them to bring their problems to you so that they don't bear them all, and then they'll keep from burning out. Conscientious folks, get them involved in the details of some of these deliverables. Some of the things that maybe you can't necessarily spend all your time with, those are the things that they really enjoy. So get them involved that way. On a multicultural team, if you have people from a lot of different countries in the technology area, we're going to be doing this a lot. You're going to have to bring people in, possibly from other time zones, other countries and such. Recognize there are a couple of rules here, so I list them out. I'm not going to go through them all. But I think it's important to note that even though people speak English, it's not their most comfortable. So mind the pace, even when it seems like they understand what they're saying. Make sure you go out of your way to make sure that people on your team understand exactly what's going on. They understand what's being told of them and what's being expected of them. So that really drives a lot of what you see in this list. Pronouncing spelling names right, that's a respect thing. Creating agendas that are short, keeping topics, don't ramble, ask for input, clarify terminology, ask them to tell you stuff back instead of just saying yes or no. Don't do any sarcasm. That stuff doesn't translate well. These kinds of things. So go through this list. Managing values is also a key thing in multicultural. Like I said, don't avoid yes, no, not just because you get a better answer if you actually ask them to tell back, but it's rude sometimes to say no in some cultures. So make sure you're framing things so that they're comfortable actually doing that interaction with you. And mind different work ethics. It is what it is. Just manage around it. Hard to carefully manage conflict, especially multicultural, because that conflict can be very, very dangerous. There's a lot of cultures that they just won't engage in conflict, and so that means sometimes problems don't surface. So we got to ferret some of that stuff out and be very careful with criticism. It can be very devastating. Just like these people don't want conflict, criticism coming their way can be very devastating. So, this is all to say just tread lightly and be very careful and very particular about communications when you have a multicultural team. Some of the back and forth that we can assume in a U.S.-only environment just doesn't work well when you're having other countries come in. So you just have to work that very carefully. Managing feedback. When you do have to give feedback, this is kind of some things to do. Emphasize, how the feedback will help them. Be sort of passive voice instead of active voice. We need this by, rather than the report was needed by, rather than I need the report by. So kind of think through some of that phrasing, and definitely keep it private, and those kinds of things. So remember, team leadership overall. Be patient and kind with your team. Fix the problem instead of blaming people. Just keep the project moving forward. Establish regular, effective communications. Stress that team identity. Get people engaged and involved and empowered with what's going on with the team. Make sure that the stakeholders get to know each other better. Nurture team members. Encourage them to help each other. Treat everyone with cooperation and with consideration and respect. Especially in a multicultural team, understand what motivates them. Communicate carefully and intentionally. Focus on your goal of enabling the team members themselves to do the best work that they can do. We come back to this. I'll repeat these two things once more. Your team is your number one asset. So you've got to make sure that they are doing great, and then make sure that they themselves, you understand that you're there to support them, not the other way around. Make sure that they have everything they need to be successful, get obstacles out of their way, and then they will execute well for the project.